this. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to DM me, text me. I believe my Pacific Northwest numbers, my Oklahoma City numbers are all over the place. So feel free to reach out. But what is the point five? The 9.5 things, the point five? Well, you're going to have to stick around and find out to the end, okay? First of all, the number one thing you need to know is pricing. Pricing is changing in this market. Is it going down? No. What is happening though is we are seeing a bit of a correction. So if you were thinking pricing is going to go all the way up here, it may be right here. Does that mean that you've depreciated in your house? No, it just means that you won't make quite as much money as you thought you were going to make. You're still going to make money in your house as long as you've been in there for an adequate amount of time. And one of my team members or myself can come over and kind of work with you on what that pricing strategy should be, because the pricing really is a marketing tool if you stop and think about it. It gets people interested in your house and is the starting point to a conversation in marketing your home. But if it's priced too high, people are going to ignore it, particularly in this market. If it's priced too low, you're going to get a flood of people that are thinking they're going to get a really great deal. And those are not folks that you really want to work with. So you want to make sure that pricing is spot on in any market, but particularly this one, because things are so nutty right now. So the number two thing you need to know is, let's talk about the listing timeline a little bit. Once we do the photos, put the sign in the front yard, get everything prepped in on MLS, and we go live, your house is going to be out there. Then days on market are starting to sneak up just a little bit. But once we do go under contract, you're going to see this timeline of the entire transaction start to kick in. The first thing that's going to be done is the buyer is going to deposit earnest money. It's not free money to you. It basically is like a deposit to show the buyer's interest in your property. That's held by the escrow company or the title company, not held by me, not held by the seller. It's held in escrow to make sure that that money stays there. The next thing, the next kind of checkpoint, milestone in that transaction is roughly right around day number 10, depending on what state we're in. You're going to see the repair negotiations deadline. So the first step in roughly 3 days is the earnest money checkpoint. Second checkpoint is the repair negotiation. That timeline needs to be done in about 10 days or so. And that means all repairs need to be negotiated by that time. The buyer's going to get the inspection done. They're going to brainstorm, if anything, what they want to ask for. Now, does that mean you even have to agree to it? No, it doesn't. If they let that timeline expire, you as the seller, well, you've had that fulfilled. You've offered them that time. If they haven't taken advantage of it, the buyer contingency for the negotiations is automatically satisfied after that point. Now, can they still pull out of the deal? Yes, but their earnest money is at risk if they do that and they're not behaving in a contractual appropriate manner. So at that point, the lenders really take over. The lender and title really takes over. They're going to generate that title report for you. The lender is going to make sure that the buyer has everything in, all of his documentation, everything done. Anything that's not done on the front end from a pre-approval standpoint is going to be taken care of. The appraisal is going to be done, all of that stuff. So that's the same. I'm giving you a real high level, by the way, of all of this information because we operate in 3 different states and every state is a little bit different. Oklahoma is a little bit different than Washington. Washington's a little bit different than Oregon. Oregon, as we all know, likes to be different in a lot of areas. And so they have a lot of specific things in their contract timeline that's different from every other state we operate in. The number 3 thing that you need to know about is still photography. Hey, I love my iPhone too, okay? iPhones are great. They're wonderful. Androids, they're great. They're wonderful. I don't really care what camp you're in, but please do not let your realtor take photos with a mobile device. It needs to be done by a professional and it needs to be done in certain angles. It needs to be done in certain lighting. It needs to be done with certain lenses. So make sure that that still photography is done well. We actually hire photographers on your behalf. We've got a host of them that do a very, very good job. I've seen a ton of bad MLS photos. I kind of collect them, actually. It's a hobby of mine. So if you want to see some horrific MLS photos, go to my own personal Facebook page, Mike Tanner, and you will see a ton of really bad MLS photos. Um, it's become such a hobby. I actually have friends from all over the country that send those to me and I post them. So go to my Facebook page, enjoy those. The fourth thing you need to know, let's get back on topic here. The fourth thing you need to know is that video is huge right now in listing properties, and I don't see that going away anytime soon. Both video drone footage and walkthroughs. Now, some houses, if it's a vacant house and maybe it's a fixer, things like that, maybe we don't do a video walkthrough. But drone video footage is very, very important because it helps people understand the lay of the landscape. It helps people understand what parks are close, what schools are close, things like that. In addition, and this is one thing I didn't think about when we first started using it, it actually shows the condition of the roof, which is incredibly important. And so some inspectors will actually send a drone up there to take a look at the roof. Well, we do it for you most of the time, unless I said it's a cosmetic fixer or something like that. We do drone footage pretty much all the time. And it's very important that you do that when you're trying to get top dollar for your house because people are going to see how clean the gutters are. They're going to see if there's been any wind or storm damage in the last couple of years. It may show some things that you, as the seller, aren't even aware of. Now, a video walkthrough is also very important too, because we want to give people the most appropriate description of your house and accurate description of your house possible. So we have very talented videographers that go through room by room. It doesn't take them that long, but they come out with a finished product. They put some nice music to it. We do an intro and an outro with myself or another one of our agents, and it turns out great. And we traditionally get well over exposure to 10,000 people just on Facebook alone by doing that. And so people love those video walkthroughs. It gives them a great representation of the house, and they can really see if they want to tour your house live in person or not. And we get a ton of great comments about how accurate our listings are depicted online. Normally, you hear the reverse. So we want to make sure and continue that. The fifth thing you need to know about is 3D tours. Now, these do make some people seasick, okay? But some people really like them. And again, we want to explore every avenue, marketing avenue possible to get your house out there to get it sold. 3D tours, we set up a 3D camera in each room in your house, in the hallways, everywhere, and it just spins right around. And that way, people can literally click and walk through, zoom into every single room in your house, and get an accurate depiction as to what it looks like. We also come up with a 2D floor plan with that as well, so people can have an idea of where they want to place the couch, where the TV should go, all of that stuff before they're even in the house to take a look at it, which is pretty cool. The sixth thing that you really need to know as a seller is you want to get the correct MLS representation. Now, there's a lot of people out there, if they try to sell their house on their own, they're not going to get the MLS representation, multiple listing service representation in their area. This is important because this is where all of the buyer's agents go to look for listings for their buyers. So it's hugely important that you get your house on there to make sure that those buyer's agents are talking to your representative, ideally us, so we can negotiate on your behalf with those buyer's agents and get those flood of buyers that each one of those buyer's agents represents. Now, digital marketing is number 7, and it's also very, very important as well. Here's why. The vast majority of people start their search on the internet. So digital marketing is huge. We want to get as much attention on your house as possible. I kind of alluded to it earlier when we talked about the video marketing, that we get a ton of views on Facebook. We get a ton of views on Instagram. We get a ton of views on LinkedIn. You're finding us through our video marketing here with this seminar. So it is very, very important to be able to do digital marketing for your property to make sure it gets out there and gets as many eyeballs on it as possible. There's another important thing about that too. You want to make sure that any digital marketing by your realtor that is done doesn't just go to his or her friends or family, because odds are they're not going to buy that. Now, they might have somebody. I have some investor clients that might want to buy your house, but it's not a guaranteed thing. In order to get it out to the biggest amount of people possible, you got to pay to play. You got to make sure that that advertising is out in front of tens of thousands of people, not just my little group of roughly 2,000 friends. Because, hey, listen, my mom looks at my stuff all the time, which is great. I love that you do that, mom. But the fact is, my mom is not going to buy your house. I've sold her other houses. Okay. So you want to make sure that people see your house as much as possible and make sure that there's paid advertising going on, not just a click and a share. It's very, very important. Okay, the eighth thing that you need to know in selling your house is that you need to have some form of transaction management. That's important because, as I kind of again alluded to before, the timelines of a transaction are different in every single state. Every one. Now, they may be close. I'll give you a little bit of a story here. Washington and Oregon, it's 10 days for that repair negotiation in both states. However, the state of Oregon is 10 business days. The state of Washington is 10 calendar days. Now, if you don't have a transaction manager working on your behalf and you just hear 10 days, which one is it? You may or may not know. It requires some research. Why not entrust that to somebody who does this every single day so we know the details inside and outside to make sure that those details are done properly for you? So, number 9, here's the thing you need to know. What turns off potential buyers? It's anything divisive. We live in a very divisive society right now, and that's very unfortunate. I don't like it. People that disagree with me politically don't like it either. It would be nice if we could all agree on at least a few things. However, political views aside, you want someone who is going to give you the highest and best offer for your property as a seller. So, do you care what their political leanings are? Absolutely not. You do not. You want to make sure that you get the highest and best offer for your house. And if that comes from someone who is on opposite party lines as you politically, who cares? But I'll tell you what buyers do care about. When they go into a house, if they see something political in there, half of them will walk away and not want to see the rest of the house. You have to make sure that your house is as neutral as possible from any hot button issue out there. And in our day and age, that's politics. So you want to make sure that your house is as neutral as possible, both in decor as well as, and I hate to say it, political correctness. Just stay neutral. Doesn't matter what your political views are. It doesn't matter what the buyer's political views are. Let's get this transaction done. If they want to buy the house, you want to sell them the house, who cares if they think opposite from you? Now, what's the 0.5? I promised you at the beginning we were going to have 9.5. What's the half? Well, this is the one thing that you absolutely positively must do. And you must get this right to make sure that your house is going to sell in today's market. Are you ready? Clean it. That's it. A good, deep clean. Some people will say, hey, when you walk into a house, you want to smell the scent of fresh baked cookies. Well, not in Portland because the majority of people are gluten-free, okay? In the Pacific Northwest, you want to avoid that. And so you want to make sure that your house smells as clean as possible. Anything from food odors to pet odors to garbage odors to anything, really, make your house smell good. And nothing smells better and will invite buyers into your house like a good, deep clean. Personally, I want to smell Pine Sol when I'm walking into a house. So make sure that your house smells as clean as absolutely possible. Because if you choose to go another route, if you go the scent of fresh baked cookies or cinnamon candles or extra Glade or whatever, you know what people are going to think? You know what my buyers are going to think? If I'm not your listing agent, they're going to think, okay, what died in here. They're trying to cover up something. And so you want to make sure that the house smells as clean as possible. That's the one thing, the one piece of advice that I give all sellers that you absolutely positively must do. Hey, thanks so much for coming to our Future Seller Seminar. We do these, and these are designed to make sure that you can just drop in and out of these. We do the same topics almost weekly. Please feel free to rewatch them, share them with friends, contact us. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much. Have a